authority vested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Borough Council did hold an executive session this evening prior to the meeting on property, legal, and employment matters. Ms. Checo, if you could do a roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Totino.
Present.
Councilmember Sona.
Present.
Councilmember Kingsley.
Present.
Councilmember Barton.
Present.
Councilmember Elam.
Present.
Vice President Sokolowski.
Present.
President Leonard.
Present.
Mayor Aronson.
I want to say here, but I guess I'll say
Thank you.
Thank you. I am at this time going to ask for a public comment from anyone this evening on the agenda items only. So if you would look at your agendas, if there's anything you would like to comment on, now would be the time. Okay. I did. Okay. So the first item, since there is no public comment on the agenda items, the first item on the agenda is under land use matters, public hearings, and ordinances. The first item is hearing on a waiver of off-street parking for 320 Fayette Street, which way is Craft. Mr. Johnson, if you could come up, and the applicants, Lily and Joe. Good evening. Good evening, Aaron.
Good evening. As you're all aware, but for the benefit of the public, every use in the borough is required to have off-street parking to accommodate that use. However, in the downtown district along Fayette, recognizing there's not the ability to have off-street parking, there is provision that allows council to grant a waiver to a business from the off-street parking. So to that end, we have the currently vacant 320 Fayette Street storefront. We have Lily and Joe who are looking to open up a new store in this location, so they're here to give you a little presentation on their store. Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us.
You're so welcome. Welcome to Conshohocken.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We just bought our first house, actually, ever last April. We live on West 6, so we are Conchi locals. We saw the posting and we were very excited. So what we do, it's just a retail store. We're candle makers. We sell crystals, antique goods, things like that. And we are just looking to open up our storefront there. If you guys have questions about hours or anything, let us know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfect. Thank you. Does anyone on council have a question?
What kind of traffic do you expect? Just foot traffic?
Yeah, generally foot traffic. We'll offer store pickup. We do have customers like around the area already. So we're currently functioning online only. We've been so for the last 5 years, so we are already established.
So you're going into the plant place?
No, I wish.
Right.
No, so we live
We're right
on
across the street from there,
on that
actually,
block.
yeah.
Okay.
But no, we're going to 320 Fayette, so we're next to Sanctuary
Oh, okay,
Blue and the
okay,
Party
okay.
Supply store.
Okay.
We're right in the middle of them.
Oh, okay.
It's a great little spot.
Thanks. Yeah, we're very excited.
What would be your hours of operation?
So we're looking closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be 12 to 6,
12 to
and then
6.
Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 5. So general retail hours. We would be most likely walking ourselves. I timed it. It's less than 8 minutes from our house. So we're very close.
Sure.
Actually, that was one of the questions when you asked about that, because when I saw the hours, I was wondering, do I have something? We have new microphones.
Oh, it's
so
okay.
They're fancy like this.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at that, I was wondering at first, and you've already answered that you don't have another location, but because it only opened at 12, or it seemed like shorter, kind of abbreviated hours, but
Yeah.
that's
I mean, we might be in there later, but it won't be open as far as that goes. So like we do have the online business, so we might be packing, but no one will be shopping.
okay,
If that makes sense.
right. And so you said some of the things in there was one, like candles and...
Yeah, candles, crystals. We sell antique glass, so like Fenton glass, Westmoreland, Imperial glass, like probably stuff that your grandmother had. But it's having a big resurgence right now. So we've gained a lot of social media traction, and
Yeah.
you know, we're fortunate enough to have been able to find this space so close to our house.
Okay.
So I'm curious, will you be making anything there, or just
No,
simply
no
retail?
production.
All of our
there.
production will still be at our house, but
Okay.
yeah, strictly retail.
And then do you receive any large shipments like trucks?
No.
No, all to our house as well.
Event space, any public gathering type of
I mean, if anything,
activities?
I would say like we might have like, for example, like a book club. It's the best. So when we say something like a full moon meeting, it's probably going to be like 6 people coming in and just talking about what we want to manifest for, you know, the next month, or what we want to like get in our. But I don't think we'll be having like parties or anything like that, unfortunately.
Very, very small gatherings.
Yeah.
Okay.
When do you hope to open?
Hopefully, I think we were going to try to do a soft opening right around Fun Fest, and then our official opening, we're aiming for September 23rd.
Oh, cool.
That's great.
My granddaughters will be there.
Oh, yeah?
Does anyone else on council have any questions for Lily and Joe?
And the name?
So our current online name is Witch's Way Craft, but we are going to be doing a DBA. The DBA is going to be 13 Circles is what the storefront will be called, but it's going to be a subsidiary of our current business, which is Witch's Way Craft.
What does that mean?
So, I'm glad you asked. So, we do identify as witches as far as like that goes, like spirituality, religion goes. And for that, we just like, we really like the earth. Like to me, nature is what like speaks to like magic, and, you know, like when you think like, sorry, I know it gets a little deep here, but you know, when you think like, what is a miracle on earth? And I see nature, I see the colors in nature, I see the flowers, I see how beautiful the crystals of the earth are, things like that. So I started this company to show people that witches are normal people, and I wanted to spread that with everybody. So anyone who doesn't identify as a witch is welcome to come into the store. We will have plenty of, I call them normal people candles. They're just regular scented sweet candles, crystals, antique goods, again, like things like that. So the Witch's Way is just me showing people, one, that we're normal, two, it's okay to identify as a witch and not be judged for that. And then also, like, if people are interested in it. So, like, just to come, like, learn a little bit more about our culture. So it's our craft, and we want to show you guys the way of it.
So if I wanted to go to your website to get familiar, is it Witch's Way?
Yes, so right now it's witcheswaycraft.com. We will be doing another website for the storefront as well. I have a card if you'd like one.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I do appreciate it. I don't want to scare anybody. I know it's kind of a scary word, which is one reason, again, why we wanted to do the DBA. I didn't want to freak anybody out. And, you know, we're not doing anything crazy. It's mainly we just like rocks. Rocks and plants. That's about it.
Is it true that a true crystal is always cold?
Cold? So no, actually you can warm it up.
Yeah.
Yes. So it might not be cold on its own. It might be getting, you know, heat from the sun or whatever surroundings it's about. But you should be able to warm it up in your hands.
Okay.
I can also help you identify things if you'd like.
Yeah, I have granddaughters that do that.
Absolutely. Send her in.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
So, go ahead, Steph. No. So the motion this evening, if council is inclined, is to approve a waiver of off-street parking for 320 Fayette Street for Witch's Way Craft.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on conditional use application for 911 Fayette Street, Jefferson Avenue Insurance. Jeffrey Gallo is the applicant, and I will turn this over to Mike Peters. Good evening. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, President Leonard. If we could go on the record, please. This is the scheduled date and time for a hearing on the conditional use application of Jeffrey Gallo and Jefferson Avenue Insurance for the property located at 911 Fayette Street, Conshohocken, tax parcel number 05-00-03328-00-6. The applicant seeks a conditional use pursuant to zoning ordinance section 27-1203.1 to permit an insurance office on the first floor of the property. The existing residential apartment on the second and third floors is proposed to remain unchanged. Conditional uses pursuant to Section 27-1203.1 are controlled by the standards set forth in Section 27-1204. We'll let the applicant explain how those standards are met in this specific application. Some borough exhibits. B1 is the conditional use application. B2 is the agreement of sale for the property between the current owner and the applicant. B3 is the proof of publication. This matter was advertised in the Times Herald and Times Herald Digital on June 24th, 2022 and July 8th, 2022. B4 is the proof of posting. The property was posted on July 5th, 2022. And B5 is the recommendation of the Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of the application. Before we turn it over to the applicant, is there anyone in the audience that has an interest in this application? And we'll let the record reflect that there are no interested parties in attendance this evening. I'll turn it over to the applicant's attorney, and he and I did discuss beforehand that a proffer would be appropriate. So what you'll see is counsel explain the application in general terms, and then ask his client to affirm that his representations were correct. So Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Members of the Borough Council, good evening. My name is Michael Yanoff, Goldstein Law Partners. Thank you so much for your time this evening. This is a relatively straightforward application. The property on Fayette Street was originally used as a chiropractor's office, and I think everybody's familiar with that. Chiropractor left the business approximately 2 or so months ago, and my client has an agreement of sale to purchase that property to move his insurance business from its current location on Germantown Pike to this location. His operation will remain exactly the same. He has a total of 8 employees. As most businesses are in this day with COVID, very few people actually come into the office. He does have a weekly staff meeting that has four of his employees at any particular time. One of the issues, obviously, at this particular location, and that is all locations on Fayette Street in this area, is no parking. There's no parking as it exists today for the chiropractor's office, and there's no off-street parking for the insurance office. But the difference is that there are very, very, very few customers, if any, that come to this location. Most of the work is done online, telephone and other solicitations, so there are no customers who are lining up at the door, coming in for appointments and things like that. In accordance with the conditional use standards, the only alteration to the building will be an alteration to the first floor, where they're going to take out some non-bearing walls in order to open up the space for the use of the office. There is an upstairs apartment which is currently vacant. However, the intent is to have it leased again, but there'll be no work done in that location. There is no exterior modification to be made at this particular building. There may be some cleanup with respect to painting and those sorts of things, just to make the building look a little bit more presentable, but there's no change, and part of the conditional use application requires an affirmation by the proposed user of the property that we keep consistent with the look of the building and the look on Fayette, which is exactly what the intention is. There's not much else to the application. The other issue is the front yard landscaping, which is a requirement under conditional use, and my client intends to maintain that and conform with the conditional use standards for this particular zoning district. That's the entire application. And I can ask Mr. Gallo, does he have to be sworn?
Yeah, please swear. Jeffrey Gallo, Jeffrey, Gallo, Gallo.
Son, swear testimony about the case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jeff, you've heard my presentation, and do you agree with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's 100% accurate. We're just excited to come to Conshohocken. We're in Lafayette Hill over now, and it's not so much of like a town feel. So we've been trying to get over here for a while. We're excited.
Well, welcome to Conshohocken.
Thank you. And with Borough Council's permission, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much. This matter will be continued. Well, first I'll ask, is there anyone in the public that wants to make a comment regarding this application? And we'll let the record reflect that there are no comments. With that, this application will be continued to Council's Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022 meeting at 7:00 p.m. that meeting to take place here at 400 Fayette Street in this room. With that, we'll close this hearing, and we have another one coming up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Peters, and good luck, Mr. Gallo, in your new business venture in Conshohocken. We
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
coming here.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you. Have a good evening,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Try to stay cool.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is consider adopting ordinance 10-2022, adopting a storm water management ordinance. Again, I will turn it over to Mr. Peters.
If we could go on the record, this is the scheduled date and time for a vote on ordinance 10-2022, adopting a new stormwater management ordinance to be applied in the Borough of Conshohocken. For the record, the title of the ordinance is an ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 19, Stormwater Management of the Borough's Code of Ordinances by repealing the current provisions in their entirety and replacing them with updated provisions amended to be consistent with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Model Stormwater Management Ordinance as part of the Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System MS4 permit program, repealing all prior inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. We went through the ordinance at length at Borough Council's June 15th, 2022 meeting, and then we continued it to tonight for a vote. And unless Borough Council has any follow-up questions since that hearing, the ordinance is ready to be adopted this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. So the motion this evening, if council is inclined, is to adopt ordinance 10-2022, adopting a storm water management ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is considering adopting ordinance 11-2022, amending the stormwater management section of the Saldo. And again, I will turn it over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. If we could go on the record for this hearing, this is the scheduled date and time for a vote on ordinance 11-2022, repealing the current provisions of section 410 drainage of the borough's subdivision and land development ordinance and replacing them with new provisions that would correspond with the new stormwater management ordinance that council just adopted. For the record, the title of this ordinance is an ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the Code of Ordinances of the Borough of Conshohocken, Chapter 22, Subdivision and Land Development, Part 4, Design Standards, by repealing Section 410 drainage in its entirety and replacing it with a new set of provisions, repealing prior inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances, providing a severability clause, and setting an effective date. We also went through this ordinance at length at Borough Council's June 15th, 2022 meeting, and the matter is now before you and appropriate for a vote this evening, unless council has any questions.
So the motion this evening is to adopt ordinance 11-2022, amending the stormwater management section of Saldo. I have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
And
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Peters.
And with that, we'll thank our corporate
The next item on the agenda is, part of the agenda is the consent agenda. I'm going to read all three and then just ask for separate motions. The first is to approve and adopt the June 1st and June 15th regular meeting minutes. Second is approve the June ending treasurer's report and annual accounts payable. And the third is approve resolution 2022-17, establishing a trial period of once weekly trash service. So the first motion this evening I am seeking is a motion to approve and adopt the June 1st and June 15th regular meeting minutes.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item, if council is inclined, is a motion to approve the June ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $958,708.60.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The last item is the motion to approve Resolution 2022-17, establishing a trial period of once weekly trash service from August 1st, 2022 to October 31st, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next section on the agenda is new business. The first item is consider adopting DCED's procurement and policy directive for federally funded projects, and I will turn that over to Stephanie.
Thank you, President Leonard. The DCED has notified all of its subrecipients that we need to adopt and abide by the federal procurement requirements for procurements funded with federal community and housing development dollars. Regardless of what exists in the federal DCE guidelines or Borough Code, the more stringent requirement applies, and this is specific to only when we are expending federal funds. So it doesn't have anything to do specifically with borough tax dollars. It's specific to the federal grant dollars that we get in from those funds. We are recommending that Borough Council adopt those DCED policy directives as it pertains to procurement and policy procedures. So if inclined, the motion in front of you this evening is to adopt the DCED's procurement and policy directive for federally funded projects.
I'll make that motion.
So, Ms. Ipsino, if you could just hold that motion while I read it for the record. The motion is to adopt DCED's procurement and police directive for federally funded projects. So we have a motion from Mr. Tino, and we just need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is consider approving Resolution 2022-18 designating an authorized signer to execute contracts related to FEMA disaster assistance for Storm Ida. And I will again turn that over to Ms. Checo.
So as you are all aware, we experienced significant damage from Storm Ida. We are in the process of seeking reimbursement through FEMA for some of those eligible costs for repair and replacement of facilities and equipment, again, that were damaged. We have completed our application process. There's multiple steps to that application process that we are still going through. We do have administrative item where in order to actually submit and process all the documentations, you need to have an authorized signer. So I'm requesting that you appoint myself as the authorized signer as it relates to the FEMA disaster assistance for Storm Ida.
Thank you, Steph. So the motion is to approve Resolution 2022-18 designating an authorized Stephanie Checo to execute contracts related to the FEMA disaster assistance for Storm Ida.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
May I ask a question just about that? We're a year out from Storm Ida. Is that a normal time frame for these types of processes to go through?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, it is the normal time frame. There are multiple stages simply to get to the submission part, and it's broken down into different sections. So, for example, debris, anything that was related to debris, then facilities, et cetera. It goes down the line. So we have multiple sections. We have a case manager with FEMA. It is moving, but unfortunately, yes, it does. The time frame is extensive, along with the amount of work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Steph. The next item on the agenda is consider ratifying a settlement agreement for 701 Fayette Street. I will turn this one over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. An appeal was filed from the zoning approval for 701 Fayette Street. That appeal was filed by an objecting property owner within the borough. I'm pleased to say that that property owner and the applicant have reached a settlement in that case, and by order dated June 22nd, 2022, the Court of Common Pleas approved that settlement. The borough was a party to that appeal just for purposes of monitoring the appeal, but because we are a party, I'm asking you this evening to simply ratify the approval of that settlement agreement. There are no requirements imposed upon the borough by the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Peters. So the motion this evening would be a motion to ratify a settlement agreement for 701 Fayette Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consider approving 720 Springmill Avenue escrow release number 1 for demolition in the amount of $74,983.50. And I will again turn this over to Ms. Checko.
The project at 720 Spring Mill Avenue consists of approximately 23 lots, and they're constructing a mix of single-family dwellings, twins, and townhomes. That project has started. The developer has begun to demolish the existing building. This evening, he is requesting a partial escrow release of the demo escrow for the project. In front of you this evening is a demo release in the amount of $74,983.50, if you're so inclined.
Thank you. So the motion is to approve 720 Springmill Avenue escrow release number 1 for demolition in the amount of $74,983.50.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next is unfinished business. The first item is consider awarding a bid for the 2022 CDBG curb ramp project. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Williams.
So President Lett, I'm actually going to take this one, but
Sure.
Mr. Williams is here from our, if
Okay.
he wanted to just come up in case there's any questions as we go through it. As you are all aware, we received CDBG funds specifically for curb ramp installations. We did bid out the project through Penn Bid and through the Times Herald. We received 3 bids, 2 of which were complete. The lowest complete bid was from Ramos and Associates at a total cost of $137,470. So what we're looking at is 2 bids. We have an alternate bid for a project, and then we have a base bid for the same project. That, again, amounts to the $137,400. That exceeds the amount of money that we have in grant dollars. So what I'm going to ask from you this evening is that you approve the entirety of the project. That way, administratively, we can move forward. Should those funds, and let's just say utilization in CDBG grants becomes an option that we have moving forward. If we don't have the full scope of those funds available, then we will do the base bid, which we can fully cover at this point, as well as any portion of the alternate bid up to that cap. But it is important this evening to consider what we're asking, which is the total amount of the project that came in from the bids, which is the $137,400, but that would be contingent upon those funds being available and upon receiving authorization to award from all the funding agencies, with the understanding that the base bid of Angel Alley and Poplar Street would be the priority, and then we would move on to the alternate bid of Jones Street and Wells Street and complete as much as we could of that project up until the threshold of the grant dollars that we have at our disposal.
Okay.
Tyler, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Nope, did a great
Okay.
job.
Thanks. We only talked about it how many times this week, so I think we're good.
It's a complicated process.
Yeah, it gets more complicated when you have a set amount of money to utilize, and then you are at the mercy of a bid process, especially in today's environment.
Okay.
So there is a motion that we would be seeking this evening.
Yes, and the motion is to award the base bid and alternate bid number 1 to Ramos and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $137,470, contingent upon funds being available and upon receiving authorization to award from all funding agencies.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Can we, like, in the future, get another grant to finish up those ramps?
Yes, when there are other rounds open of CDBG funds, yes, we could look at deciding that we would like to utilize that grant money specific to curb ramp installations.
Okay.
Unfortunately, right now, we only have access to what we've been given to date. And I will say that we have multiple locations that Tyler has already done the due diligence to map out that should be priorities. And when the funds become available, we'll check them off with those grant dollars.
Okay, thank you.
And Tyler, thank you for all the work getting us to this point, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ty.
The next item on the agenda is consider approving Resolution 2022-19, authorizing the transfer of title to real estate property from Conshohocken Sewer Authority to the Borough of Conshohocken, and I will turn this one again over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. Earlier this year, the Borough and the Sewer Authority entered into a memorandum of understanding whereby two properties, one containing the community garden and the other a property where the Borough currently stores its salt, were to be transferred to the Borough. We're now at a point where we are ready to effectuate that transfer. With respect to the community garden, just keep in mind that we agreed to impose a deed restriction that it would remain open space. So that is one of the things that's outlined in the resolution. The resolution gives staff, as the borough manager, with the advice of my office, the authority to effectuate that transfer. That includes the expenditure of any funds to make that transfer. We're not paying for the property, but there's still obviously costs associated with transferring it. That also gives staff the authority to execute the deed restriction on the community garden property. So the motion would be to adopt the resolution as presented.
Okay. So if council is inclined, it is consider approving Resolution 2022-19, authorizing the transfer of title to real estate property from the Conshohocken Sewer Authority to the Borough of Conshohocken.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There are no more items on the agenda this evening, so is there anyone for public comment this evening? Would you please just state your name and address for the record?
Absolutely.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Good evening.
My name is Donna Sesko. I'm at 251 East 6th Ave. Got an education tonight, so I realize that what I have to say is not going to affect your vote on the trial of the trash pickup going to once a week. However, something to take into consideration is I don't like it. I don't know what the next step is come the end of October as to whether we go back or how it is we go back to what it was, or if, when the discussion happens to make it permanent or any other adjustments. So if anybody can enlighten me on that, I'd appreciate it.
So we will have the trial period for the 3 months.
Right.
And collect in that time period all the data, which will be analyzed by Stephanie and Ray, and given to everyone. So it will be a process, and everything will be taken into consideration. And there are a lot of different variables that we're going to have to consider on it.
I'm sure there are. And had I realized that or read the agenda better, I would have spoken up sooner.
That's okay.
So for now, if you will indulge me in listening to a couple of my objections.
Sure.
So that we've got some food for thought going on. Not that y'all probably haven't heard some of it already. Trash pickup once a week. I have a household of 5 people and 1 pet. If we miss 1 pickup, it's not going to be pretty. What do I do with this excess trash?
You can call.
You
can call the
The
borough.
borough.
You
for
can
a
call the
pickup.
borough for a pickup.
And they'll stop by just because I have an
Yes, they
excessive
will.
amount of trash.
They absolutely will, yes.
You can also
Okay.
get another trash bin if that'll help you too.
And that's free of charge from the borough.
Okay. Well, I'd rather not. Seeing
But
all these
it's a
trash cans out front, is
Right,
that enough?
it is a possibility, though. You
Yes,
can do
and
that.
I
It's an
appreciate
option.
that. That's- Options are always good. Something else to take into consideration is, I realize it winds up being, at the end of the week, it's the same amount of trash. But you're asking these men to be out there in 100-degree August weather, doing double the work a couple of days a week.
So,
I think that's
and you
a little-
are aware that the trash trucks have lifts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's these men are still out there in this heat, walking, jogging, dodging traffic. And just, I think, especially in the summer months, that's a bad time to do it. If it's something to take, and that's actually when people generate more trash. I don't know about y'all, but my neighborhood seems to be that way in the warmer weather. Everybody's got their projects, and everything is going out there. And God forbid, like I said, you miss one. Man, that is gonna be some kind of stank. And the other question I have is, or concern, is the fact that I'm on the east side. I have all the Monday holidays. I read the notice, and I understand that we'll be picked up eventually. But what about if this goes through, is there any thought about like winter weather? Where my normal pickup is on Monday. If there's Veterans Day, we have a snowstorm within 48 hours of that. When's my trash pickup going to be?
So there is a designated alternate day for the east side.
But if they're utilizing the borough guys, the trash guys, who do a fantastic job with our snow removal.
It would be the same as it was every other year. The snow would get removed and then the trash would be picked up. It's just how it works, whether there's one or two. That wouldn't change.
So you have your foreman basically designating the work assignments based on the need and priority. So snow removal would be priority
Absolutely.
1, trash removal would be priority 2. So that would be up to...
So they could possibly, instead of being picked up on I'm drawing a blank at the moment, my alternate day at the moment, I believe, is Wednesday. For trash pickup. But if there were still a snow issue, there's a possibility they would pick it up Friday.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Still not a fan?
All of those issues are all open right now. Everything is. It's a trial.
Exactly. It is a trial, and I understand that.
So these are the questions that we want to hear during the trial, so that we can figure out if there is a solution. I completely understand how hot it is and the extra weight in the trash pickups. I completely understand that. But we're also looking at reorganizing the workforce. So what Frank, the foreman, and Ray had explained to us is there will be multiple men on the trucks 2 days a week rather than one guy on the truck doing all that work when there's people off and different things. So we're trying to understand what the impact is on the staff, because the staff are a priority in this. But according to the foreman, that this is a solution to some of the issues that they're currently having with staffing.
So they're having current staffing issues.
When there's vacation, when there's time off, they can't balance the workload.
Every job experiences that. I understand that completely.
Correct. So that's one of the considerations. When you ask what are going to be the considerations during the trial, it's going to be those types of things.
Okay, even though the trial is really, peak vacation time isn't.
It's just one of the areas. Obviously, there are different areas in Conshohocken that we have to look at differently. There are many variables, and during the process, if you have questions or concerns, you can call the administration, or you can.
Is there any place I can go to? I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is there any place I can go to see what some of these variables are as to why we're even looking at this trial?
So yes.
Right. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I knew that was going to be happening, but I was out of town.
It's on the website.
It's on our website.
If you want to give me your contact information, I can send it to you. You can actually see the presentation that was given by the Executive Director of Operations and the Foreman of Public Works.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you.
If you want to actually you can just give it to me and then we'll get it over to you.
Thank you. It's even easier,
I
because I'm
think that'll
thinking it's stupid.
I think that'll answer some of your questions of how we got to where we are.
Yes.
And then we will get lots more questions through it to figure out what then the next steps are.
Okay.
And we will all learn from it.
Yes.
Okay? But thank
you
you
very
for
much.
coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else for public comment this evening? Okay. Mayor Armington?
All right, so first wanted to thank our Borough team for the wonderful fireworks show that we had on the 3rd. A ton of planning goes into putting on the event every year. I think I heard from just about everyone that I've talked to over the last couple weeks that it was one of our best shows ever. So I know we're already looking forward to July 3rd next year. So just another big thank you to the incredible team that we have here at the Borough that put that on. Also a reminder that the summer concert series is going strong. Thursday evenings at 7. Sarah and I were at last week's show with Montage at Sutcliffe Park and had a great time. Mango Men will be there tomorrow. And then the series shifts to Marywood Park for the remainder of July and August. And also a reminder, Kona Ice will have their ice truck at all of the shows, and a portion of the proceeds benefit the Friends of Conshohocken Parks. And then finally, one of the cool things that we get to see here is future owners like we saw tonight coming to council that want to open new businesses. And one of those businesses that we saw a few weeks ago was Morning Talk Cafe. So we had a chance to stop in, and it's wonderful. I highly recommend the brown sugar latte, and especially with how hot it is this week, strong recommendation to all of our residents to check it out. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mayor Aronson. Stacy?
Nothing tonight, President Leonard, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing. Nothing, thank you.
Nothing.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Tina?
I just have 2 announcements that I want to congratulate. Number 1 is the Children's Running Club, the Electric Force Runners. You may have seen them last weekend, I think, out doing a bucket brigade to raise funds. They made it to nationals, so that's a very exciting thing for them. So they're trying to raise funds to send the whole team to nationals, so that's very exciting. And then second, our Conshohocken Rowing Center, the team for Conshohocken actually made it to finals and are traveling to Italy. So I think they're sending 2 teams to Italy for the Conshohocken Rowing Center. So just 2 exciting things that are going on with the various groups in our borough, and congratulations to everyone for such hard work.
Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
With that, I will say meeting adjourned.